it in 4 days while they were working on it, so it didn't hurt me too bad.
Your mobile unit became stationary unit for 4 days.
But they were nice enough to let me bring animals in there and do surgery, so it worked out.
I bet they loved it. Look at this.
It was definitely different. I scared my mechanic.
Probably leave that off around the place.
Is that the hardest thing ever? So you're right on the corner.
I didn't think I was gonna scare him. I thought we'd go scare some of the younger ones. And I startled him. He wasn't expecting that.
Yeah. Very young guy.
I mean, that's what they're awake. At least my little patients sleep and making good drugs. They don't know what happened. They don't miss me.
Big squeal.
Yeah, they squeal out. What happened? I mean, I know Harry had a lot of things. Particular thing happened.
It's got all.
Beyond being able to recover.
Yeah, he was so funny.
It was fun.
Yes.
How's your boat?
Made it back. Did perfect. Everything's right now. Usually always 25 years old, whatever, 25 years old at the time. Generator's never been working at all. This thing was
Right here, he can't do this. Can't do this. I had no idea what it was. Just- You can get the ticket.
You got a round the world cruise in RCGH next year.
And they're overnight. It's something crazy like Red River all the way to Oklahoma. Leaving Texas, Montana.
Arkansas. Wait,
I know that.
wait a minute to go by.
I know this place you're just.
No, that's not. We did some things when we were doing the loop. Weren't on the bucket list.
I'll tell you, I never expected to do so. Johnson, presidential library. And it was really cool. A lot of history stuff. No, never been
It's Texas. It's not fit together.
Reagan was not much better. Adobe HUD out.
Anybody seen that show on HGTV that they're doing on the Lake House? I caught the first episode. Oh my God. Houses. The one that won.
All right, gang, again, it's great to see all the wonderful people in the room and on Zoom today. We have an awesome speaker here that we were able to get with the help of good old Billy Warner. So we're excited about our speaker for the day. But before we get into that, I want to announce our guests. So we've got a guest today that we're really excited about. This gentleman who has taken over the position when Curtis Hunt left the Scouts. So we have Alex McDowell here, who is Senior District Executive for the Scouts now for North Alabama. Welcome. We've already been pinging on him about the best Rotary Club for him to join, and our, Reed Kloss, and Curtis is still part of the club, and our memorial cleanup. So I think we got it, but we'll find out. Alex, no pressure, Alex, no pressure. Okay. Tim Green is here from Bancorp South. Tim's like to stand up. He's a guest. Oh, Jay is here. I didn't see Jay come in, but Jay would announce Tim. Tim's a longtime great banker in this town, very well known. We're glad to have you here, Tim. Thanks for being here. And then Billy, would you introduce our the club keeps me in check when I miss things along the way. I appreciate that. Thank you, guys. All right, Billy's going to announce our speaker and guest today.
Yeah, we have three guests from UAH. Freddie Jordan, who is a good friend of mine. Dr. Charles Carl, the president of UAH, and Mallory Hale, who is the vice president of advancement and alumni relations.
All right, glad to have you. And I have a guest today who's also visiting Rotarian, Harris Parker, banker with Bank Independent. All right, I actually want to mess that up. Thanks for being here, Harris. And he's in a Bible study with me too, so great guy. Thanks for being here. All right, with that, we have one person who has volunteered to do 2 truths and a lie. I think we might have a second if they get up the nerve here. But Art, would you like to come on up and lay it down for us, buddy?
See, when they first started doing these 3 truths and a lie, I was talking to my wife, and she said, "Well, you better write them down or you'll forget them." Okay, that's the truth. That's not one of them, no. Okay. All right. We'll start from way back when. My first flight in the DC-3 was from Boston to Omaha when I was 6 weeks old. All right. When I was about 15, I think it was, I climbed the tallest mountain in the world. And in the last one, the first date that I had with who became my wife, the first date I asked her to take a trip with me over the weekend to St. Moritz, Switzerland.
Number 2 was a lie.
What?
Number 2 was a lie.
No, actually, number 2 was true. The tallest mountain in the world is Mauna Kea in Hawaii. Okay. It stands 14,000 feet above sea level, but the bottom of the mountain is 18,000 feet on the floor of the ocean. And if you look that up, it's actually, but yeah, look it up. And when I did it, there wasn't a road. You actually had to hike it. Back in the, pardon? No, the number 1 is true. The number 3 is a lie because it was Lake Lucerne in Switzerland and not St. Moritz. And by the way, it'll be 55 years the end of this month.
You know, with the engineers in this room, they try to trick us up with some of those technicalities, huh? Cheryl, all right, we got Cheryl to come on up at the last minute. Thanks for doing that, Cheryl. We figured with the UAH connection, it might be a good, yeah, there you go.
This is with me kicking and screaming because I want to be able to feel comfortable coming back and not be put on the spot. So here's for me not to stop Zooming and come back more often. Number one would be that I was the guest at the home of the premier of Bermuda during our honeymoon, and then played tennis at a tennis resort 5.5 hours a day on my honeymoon for another week. I was the UAH homecoming queen in 1982 and the winner of the Bad Mama Jamma dance contest at the homecoming dance. And I was appointed by 4 different governors to serve on various state task forces impacting individuals with disabilities or aging.
So it's tough to sound.
Number one was a lie. You didn't play tennis that whole time. She's still married.
So, exactly. So I got to pick the first week, and it was Bermuda, and we happened to meet the premier at an Oakwood College function here in town, and he personally invited us, and we thought, right. And then sure enough is, they got the dates and everything, but they called back to work out the details, and so I did not end up playing at the premiere, but the ambassador, my husband, and one of the American Airline executives and some other 4th person on staff ended up playing tennis. But he got to pick second week, and so in that one, he picked the Rod Laver Tennis Camp on Hilton Head, and it was 5.5 hours of tennis.
Yeah.
Third one, 5 guys.
It was not 5 governors. So it is the one. It was not 4 governors either. It was 3 governors and an attorney general that has, in various points in my career, appointed me to something on the statewide level, you know, dealing with aging, fraud, disability, you know, and various things. So, so yes, I am the UAH homecoming queen. Don't hold. That was many pounds ago. So, yeah. But the only thing that got me was I got appointed to be on the homecoming committee for multiple years after, and so that was a lot of cold feet on ice for the homecoming.
Sure glad I twisted your arm to come up here today. That was awesome. But what's the Bad Mama Jamma? That's what I want to know.
Not know that I was not the best dancer, but because I was the homecoming queen, they felt sorry for me. So,
We're
a
gonna,
lot of friends in the audience.
we're gonna check our tape mark out.
Yeah, but I'd say, let's get people here to check on all that, so we can find some video at one of these meetings. I like that. All right. All right, so talking about our speaker, it's obviously an honor to have you here, especially being brand new to the university. It's great. Upcoming speaker next week, we have Wellstone Behavior Health. The CEO will be here to talk about the mental health crisis that's happening in North Alabama, especially as it relates to younger children as well. So probably some sobering news, but some really good insights on what's going on here in North Alabama. Probably a lot of places, I would imagine, right now, with what we've been through the past couple of years. Got a ramp build coming up, January 22nd, Cliff, Pete, do I have that right?
Yes.
22nd, would you guys like to say anything else about that now? Wednesday, Friday? Let Cliff know, we'll have sign-up sheets next week.
No.
They're here this week, okay, okay.
Okay,
All right.
as we do.
It's not a meeting without Cliff saying something.
And you in Zoom land, we need your help also. It's gonna be a 35-foot ramp. We're gonna, next Wednesday, we'll do the pre-building for it at the Casa Warehouse. Friday, we'll move it, and thanks to Thornton Stanley to provide the truck, and then Friday, Saturday morning, the 22nd, rain, shine, snow, sleet, doesn't matter. We all get to come out there, just dress appropriately, and we'll have fun, and we'll be done. We'll meet at 8 o'clock. We'll be done by 11:30 in the morning at the latest. This is very straightforward. A lot of TAPCONs going down the sidewalk, so come on out, help us. It's a great community benefit to the community that we're going to do. But most importantly, Mrs. Brown's going to get out of her house. And that's the key point. And that's what we take away from this. Thank you.
Thank you.
And he's for real when it's rain, sleet, or snow, and dress appropriately, because that mud will come. Well, this one's a little bit more concrete oriented than before. Okay.
This one was got a little bit, you know.
I think I'm still getting mud off my boots from the last one, but we'll get there. All right. Veterans Memorial Cleaning, January 26th, that's Saturday. Looking to get a good turnout for this one. It'll be a big cleaning for us. Alex will ping you on that if you want to come join us. That might be kind of fun. See some scouts out there working hard in the community. That'd be great. Awesome. Reed, anything you wanted to add to that? He might be, he usually falls asleep after he eats at lunch, so that might be what's going on there.
26 is not a Saturday.
Oh, thank you. What Saturday is that? 22, so it'd be, yeah,
29.
29. Okay, thanks for catching that, Charles, appreciate that.
6 is up there.
Yes, there we go. I was dyslexic this morning, put together the slides, so if you can get the 9, 6, whatever, we'll get there, all right. Hey, we got some pictures coming from Roger. Our Uganda students are returning. They're back in school as of January 10th, and every day more and more students are returning, so it's really excited that we're getting back on track with that, and all the students are coming back. Schools are fully open after COVID, and all the hard work we've been putting into building the schools and training teachers is going to come to fruition for these children. Thanks again for Billy's working hard on completing the global grant for us and making good progress on that. So pretty exciting news. A couple other announcements. Please remember the new membership option that we've come out with, the flex membership option. It's a reduced cost per quarter. That reduced cost does not include meals, but we're hoping to get folks that are afraid of paying the larger fee and not going to be able to be here that often in person to enjoy the food. They'll just pay a food fee or meal fee when they come. But we're hoping to grow some membership, especially some younger folks that may not be able to be here all the time. We do have some folks that we lost that were only going to be here on Zoom that we're hoping to get back as well. So please pump that. The membership applications are online. I'd love to continue to restock this club with amazing folks that have a heart for service like y'all. Okay. Uganda scholarships are open. We have some scholarships available of the 53 girls that we support. So please see Billy or Roger on that. Okay. Todd also is available to help with that as an international chair. So just reach out to any of us and we'll get you plugged in on that. You'll probably get a few emails from us coming out on that as well. Board positions for next year. So our president-elect Jim Tedipal started to put together his nominating committee and looking for good board members. So if you'd like to participate on the board, we'd love to have you. A lot of opportunity to really have a big impact from the board position. So please let us know if you're interested in that, and Jim would be the best person to reach out to. I'm happy to answer any questions if you want to know what kind of the duties and responsibilities are of each of those positions. Okay. All right, we're not done already. All right, with that, Dr. Carr, brand new president of UAH, started on December 1st. Really excited to have you here. Come on up.
All right, well, first of all, let me tell you, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to come over here today. My wife and I are really, really pleased to be up here in this community, but also thank you for everything it is you do as Rotarian. You know, the truth of the matter is, it's the service. People like you who give of yourself, expect nothing in return, that actually form communities and allow communities to be sustained. So thank you for everything you do on that front. Let me give you a little bit on, first of all, I guess I tell you, I'm honored and thrilled to have the opportunity to serve as the interim president of the University of Alabama at Huntsville. I spent 42 years at another institution in the state. Went to Tuscaloosa as an 18-year-old freshman, got an undergraduate degree there, a master's degree, a PhD, took a job there, served as an assistant professor, associate professor, full professor in aerospace engineering, became department head, served as associate dean, and then for the last 17 years, I had the honor to serve as the dean of the College of Engineering. I retired. Was looking forward to moving down to the retirement home that my wife is finishing up on the water in Pensacola, Florida. And 2 days later, this opportunity availed itself. So now my wife's finishing up our vacation home. So I'll be perfectly honest with you, there are not a lot of opportunities that would have taken me off the beach in Pensacola, Florida, but this is one of them. And it's a consequence of the outstanding university that sits here. I've had a chance to watch UAH from afar for a long, long time. So many great young people come to here. You know, it's a university of choice for a lot of outstanding young people that want to get a technical education. So many great faculty members here. The research that's churned out over here at UAH affects the warfighter every day. It helps make our country safe. But it's more than just the university that brought me here. It's the community. And I hope you folks are really, really proud of the community you've developed up here in North Alabama. What's going on up here is just absolutely remarkable. Just remarkable. So my wife and I are really, really excited about the opportunity to come up here. I agreed to serve as the interim president for, I forget the exact word you used, no less than 18 months. It sounded kind of like a jail sentence. No less than 18 months as interim president. As good a situation as University of Alabama Huntsville is, I think there are a lot of other things that can be accomplished here. So I'm going to take on this role in an aggressive fashion to try to put us in the best position possible so that when the faculty and staff and the community have the opportunity to select the next leader at the University of Alabama Huntsville, that person's not starting from ground zero, but they have a great platform from which they can launch. So having said that, there are two overriding facts or principles that are going to oversee everything we do at the University of Alabama Huntsville. Number one, it's about great people. We're going to bring great people in at the undergraduate level, for graduate students, and for faculty. In my experience, the number one thing you can do to build a great organization is go get great people. And so my role is to go out and convince all kind of outstanding, talented people that they want to be part of the team at the University of Alabama Huntsville. Number two, every single day, it's about pushing and striving for excellence. We want to have a culture and environment where everybody who participates in it feel like they have a better opportunity to succeed later on, whether it be at the University of Alabama in Huntsville, or whether it be they go on to launch a career somewhere or even take another position somewhere. So in everything that we do overrides those two things right there. Now, having said that, there are about four things that I think we need to work really, really hard at. We need to grow this university. We've seen some enrollment growth at the University of Alabama Huntsville. We hit almost 10,000 students a year ago, and it dropped down just a little bit, but we need to grow this university. We need to work really, really hard to bring in great people to this university. And look, we're going to go get great students. Don't worry about that. But we're going to get great people. At the end of the day, we want to bring students here. They're going to want to stay and live and be part of this community. And trust me when I tell you, when you see that Mayflower moving van moving down the street from you, if that cat happens to be a good electrical engineer, that's fine, but you're going to sure hope they're a better person. All right? And we want the young people that come here to this university to stay and get integrated, involved, and be part of this community. I'm telling you, just working with the Chamber of Commerce, working with people and getting debriefs over there at the Arsenal, my gosh, the workforce problem is just like it's overwhelming. Okay? Now, we can't take care of all of that only at UAH, but we want to partner with other universities and make sure that great young people come here. Number two, when those young people come here, we got to make sure they have great educational opportunities. All right, now I'm a big reader. This is scary at the age of this group. I got some big readers out here, right? Yeah. For those of you who aren't, y'all read enough to heard this guy named Mark Twain, right? Okay, so Mark Twain paraphrasing said, I try to never let my schooling get in the way of my education. And one of the things I've always been a big believer on is this. Young people that come to the University of Alabama Huntsville, look, they're going to take a bunch of classes and we're going to provide them great classes. That's their schooling. And their education can occur on so many other fronts. It's because they're involved with undergraduate research, or they do a study abroad, or they do an internship with somebody out in the community, or they start a service organization. Those things are very, very important to the young people that we bring in here. I think that helps build better engineers, better bankers, better educators. So we want to make sure that we have student organizations that young people can be engaged and involved with. I would tell you that a reasonable goal would be that 100% of the students at the University of Alabama in Huntsville are engaged in some kind of enhanced learning opportunity. And we need to strive to get them engaged and involved with things outside of just sitting in a classroom. Third thing we need to do is we need to grow the faculty at the University of Alabama in Huntsville. This community deserves, and at some point it's going to command, a great institution of higher learning. In my opinion, that institution needs to be the University of Alabama, Huntsville. To do that, we need to grow this university. We need to bring in more faculty who are doing more research, more faculty who allow for us to educate more students. Look, we at the heart of what we do at the University of Alabama, Huntsville has always been STEM education. I get that. That's why we were created. And we're going to continue to do that. We're going to continue to have a great engineering program, atmospheric science program, biology programs, chemistry programs. But this community also needs some great bankers and some great teachers and some great nurses. So ultimately, we've got to expand those colleges and grow those and make sure we do it in a quality fashion. Fourth thing that I think is really, really important at the University of Alabama, Huntsville is to improve the facilities. All right, the truth of the matter is in higher education, it's much like it is in athletics, and it's that it's an arms race, right? If Auburn University builds a new engineering building, we got to have a new engineering building. If Tuscaloosa builds a new business building, we got to have a new business building, okay? So we have got to figure out ways to grow and expand and enhance our campus. On the short term, we're working really, really hard to try to help get support to put up a new engineering building. I think that would be really, really big for us at the University of Alabama, Huntsville. On the longer term, on the horizon, we need to cross the road. We need to work our way across Sparkman Drive, and we need to take some of that Executive Plaza property that exists over there, and we need to develop a situation where we have enhanced community for our students. We don't need to go over there and just build a bunch of classrooms, okay? We're gonna have classrooms, we need some residence halls, we need to look at some kind of public-private partnership where we have dining facilities over there, restaurant facilities, to create more of a campus atmosphere for our young people. What that allows us to do then is to expand the base from which we can recruit. Right now, we can recruit a lot of students that aren't so hung up on the campus life. If we have a better campus environment and life, then that allows me to expand the base from which I can recruit students, and Huntsville and the Tennessee Valley only benefits from that. So those are the four areas that we're going to place a lot of emphasis on as we get started with this. There are a lot of good things going on at the University of Alabama, Huntsville, but there's just so much more, right? Every person that I meet tells me, oh, there's just so much opportunity. I came up here and I spent 2 or 3 days before I actually officially took the job. And when the fifth person at the University of Alabama, Huntsville told me, we just have so much potential. I slammed my hand on my desk and I said, my goal is that we never have to say that again. I mean, how'd you like to have that be your epitaph? Chuck Carr, he had such great potential, right? And you read between the lines on that, right? So not where we want to be. So again, I think there's a lot of great opportunity. I'm excited and thrilled. I've seen a lot of people that are really, really anxious to move forward at the university. I've seen a lot of really good attitude. There's so much talent here. And again, my wife and I just feel like we're really, really blessed to be part of this community. So with that, go Chargers, and I'll take any questions you may have.
Got one online.
That's always scary.
Well.
Yes. You mentioned engineers and educators and bankers, but you didn't mention lawyers. But actually, my real question is cybersecurity. Can you say anything about UAH's plans to get into that field?
So that's, we've got a gentleman that runs a center over there, Tommy Morris. It's a really, really good center on cybersecurity. I just spent the last 2 days down in Montgomery working with some legislative people down there in a particular company, pretty large company, about trying to make a push and an effort in cybersecurity. So I think that's an area to where ultimately there's not a state in this country that's going to be able to handle their cybersecurity needs. So if you establish that fact, then every state is going to be trying to import talent. Having said that, we'll be an importer or we'll be an exporter, right? And so we want to have the kinds of facilities that young people are going to want to come to, that ultimately can perhaps draw companies into Huntsville. But yes, cybersecurity will be a big part of what we do. There's already a really good quality effort on that at UAH. But that's a place where I think we need to expand. I don't know where the camera is. I'm looking at it.
Right over here.
Okay, good. Well, sorry about that. You're looking at the back of my head. With the lawyers? Yes, sir.
On that same topic, obviously, we've got the new school being built here.
Yep.
Of cybersecurity and
Yep,
engineering.
yep.
Any plans to partner directly
Yep,
with them?
absolutely, absolutely. That's a big part of the effort that in Montgomery talking about.
Okay.
Matt Massey over there, headmaster, I've already met with him on a couple of occasions. Look, that cybersecurity school, high school over there is going to be something unique in the country. I mean, it really is. We certainly want to partner with them. We want to provide some of those young people opportunity. Hopefully, we want to recruit those young people to come to University of Alabama Huntsville. I actually have a personal interest in that school over there. My oldest son works for Nebraska and Gory, and I think he's the project lead over there. Constructing that school, so. Yeah, we'll see how it turns out. I drove over there the other day and I said, man, I'm liking it, you know, got that UAH blue. He goes, Dad, I need that blue not to be there, right? I'm like, okay. Yes, sir.
Name recognition. How are you gonna get the name out there outside this community?
You know, that's a really good question. I used to have students ask me that when I was at my former institution. They said, reputation, how do we improve the reputation? I said, that's an easy one. You go out and perform. And those students didn't really want to hear that. We have been kind of a best kept secret here at the University of Alabama, Huntsville. When you look at some of the accolades for the College of Engineering, the College of Science, we have really good rankings. That's a long-term effort. I always try to be just a little bit cautious. I think it's a noble effort to go out and improve our name recognition. And we're going to do that by trying not to be a best kept secret. And that involves people like me getting out in other states and talking about what we do. But I also have a little bit of a concern when people try to use name recognition just to drive the rankings. I don't really want to get in that game. Some people want me to get in that game at my former institution. And I told them, I said, well, I have a little different idea. I said, what's that? And I said, well, maybe the best way to be ranked better is for us to actually get better. Name recognition is important. That'll take a little bit of time though.
What about athletics? Hockey team?
Well, we're going to continue to have athletics.
Good question, Doc. What are your enrollment projections, sir?
Right now, the University of Alabama at Huntsville, when I took over, they were in this process of doing a strategic plan. And it kind of got waylaid a little bit, and I have a meeting set up, I think it's later in January, the 1st of February, to get that relaunched. And certainly enrollment will be a part of the strategic plan, and I've always been somebody that, I just think you keep score. So I think you set some real numbers on there. We're bumping at 10,000, UAH, I think a short-term goal, some point we need to try to strive to get 15, and then we see where it goes from there. But we don't have an official set mark yet. But again, I'm one that kind of likes to know what the goal is so we can see how we do it.
How did the pandemic affect you both positively and negatively? And did more students stay closer to home and impact the?
The pandemic has affected universities all across the nation. There are some positives to that, just as you see in your businesses, instead of having to get on a plane to go out and have a meeting in Houston, you can Zoom now. Boy, I know, I'm sure all of you invested in Zoom stock when this thing first hit, right? You need to up the dues, okay? So I think in some respects, it's allowed us to be more efficient, right? And provide, in some ways, a better product for the student. In that now, for fear of us having to go virtual at any minute, like we try to capture all the classes, right? So you come in, you sit in your statics class, but then later that's been captured so you can go back and actually review. I think that's a positive for students, right? So I think that some faculty have been quite creative in generating some positives out of it. I'm a bit concerned about in particular students in their mathematics for the last 2 years that have been doing it all virtually. You know, that's our high school students and some of our college students in fact. So one of the things that we try to take a look at is, okay, do we need to be prepared that if we get a couple years of students who aren't as proficient in some of the areas from their high schools as we think they need to be, and we need to work with them to try to create that. Also worried about young people. I don't know if this is a problem or not. I mean, about the connections, you know, and I don't think it's that they're not connected. I think it's that they're not connected the way I was. I mean, the only way I got through college was I got in a study group and I had that accountability and I had to show up and, you know, it was just easier to show up and do it than it was to get ragged about it. And you'd say, well, kids can't do that now, but yeah, they do it in different ways. I mean, I remember back when I first got into the distance education game 25 years ago, we kind of had an online master's degree program, a virtual master's degree program. We actually sent videotapes to the kids. That's how long ago this was, okay? And man, I discovered that they had this huge network, you know, but they just did it all virtually. They would have somebody from Virginia working with his classmate over in San Diego. So I think it'll be really interesting to watch to see how that moves forward. You know, I think there are some things that will change higher education, not just the pandemic. When you start looking at citizenry making a decision of whether or not they want to fund a young person's education, not just K through 12, but say K through 14. You know, there are states now that are saying, well, you go to community college for free. Four-year universities are going to have to recognize that and be able to respond to that. What that looks like, I'm not exactly sure, but that'll, you know, the landscape will change as it always has. But at the end of the day, I still believe very strongly that the education that's afforded in the university system in the United States is outstanding. And all the time I spent at my former institution, and I'm sure this is true here at UAH, I never had a company come to me and say, man, your students aren't technically competent. I had them come to me and say, I wish they could write a little bit better, or I wish they could speak a little bit better. So maintaining an element of that liberal arts education, even through a STEM-based program. Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm curious, UAH's approach to working with community colleges. I started my education in college. When I got ready to go and I got my associates, I got ready to go get my bachelor's. Some universities were very accepting, and others were like, no, you have to check the box here and here, work with me.
Yep.
So what is UAH doing to work with those?
Well, I can tell you, I've already sat down and met with Pat Sims, and I've got a meeting, she's over at Drake. I've got a meeting set with Jimmy Hodgins over at Calhoun. To try to work with them to find areas where we can be welcoming to their students. You know, in Alabama, I think you'll find that there's a lot of variation in the community colleges. I think it's really, really important that we have vehicles by which students who start in a community college can come through and move on to a four-year program. I had some experience in developing technical programs to where young people could start at Shelton State and then move over to the University of Alabama. It was working with Mercedes. Mercedes wanted to go through the community college to become mechanicians. And some of those students discovered, well, you know, so we want to embrace them in the university. I think that it's important that our academic advisors at UAH, when they identify a young person at a community college, I think they ultimately want to matriculate into UAH, can go ahead and start working with them early on. There's huge articulation agreements where students can start at community college, see what the curriculum is going to look like, and they can make sure they're on pace. But I think at some point you need to think about how you reverse that flow. Everybody thinks about a young person starting at a community college, moving to a four-year program. We all do an alternative. In the old country, we would sometimes get a student who would come in and want to do engineering. they could duct tape a tractor in. But they were never going to pass calculus. So we did, of course, the logical thing, which was burn their grade point average down to the point where they had no other option to do either. That's really a young person that need to say, hey, look, they've got a great program here in town. So I think you need to be open-minded enough to think about that flow could actually go into.
Dr. Carr, this is Rudy. Can you hear me okay?
Man, you sound awful impressive. I thought I was getting divine intervention here. Yes,
Oh,
sir.
no, sorry. It's all good. It's all good. Dr. Carr, just like you, I retired in 2014. And I don't fish, I don't hunt, and I don't know how to dance. So I wanted to continue serving, and I joined this great Rotary Club of Greater Huntsville, and I hope you do as well. And not only, go ahead.
Well, I'm going to get in the full court press over here.
All right.
Cheesecake back there for prospective members.
When I retired in 2014, I met one of the gentlemen that was a member of our club, and I said, hey, sir, I want to continue serving. What can I do? He said, come join our club. You'll see the service that you did to the soldiers. You did with the soldiers for 46 years. You'll enjoy it so much. So I joined the Rotary Club and several other organizations here in Huntsville, great organizations. And in these organizations, what we do is we go out and care for families in need of all backgrounds. And when I go and care for a family in need, I ask the children to join us. We join us in understanding and in prayer and thanks and future. And I ask the children, how are you doing in school? Oh, I'm doing well. I've got good grade point average. I attend school and I'm doing well in school and I engage in activities. And then I ask them, what are your potentials? And they say, well, I want to be a painter like my dad. I want to be working just like my dad in the poultry. I want to go work just like that in the streets and all those other things, so like my mom. And then that's when I slap the table. I say, you have so much potential in this city. You have so much potential. And I want to thank you so much because you are providing that potential in the future. Thank you, sir.
I appreciate that. And, one of the things that I think is critically important is young people get engaged and involved with service early on, and it becomes just part of who they are. And we have a lot of young people that come to the University of Alabama in Huntsville, and when they fill out their papers for admission, they mark over their things they're interested in. And I've been going through that. I think over the Christmas holiday, I wrote handwritten notes to 300 or 400 prospective students. And so I'd see a little bit of information on them, and many of them are interested in service kinds of things. We have service organizations at the University of Alabama, Huntsville, but I would encourage you to reach out to those kinds of groups over there and get those young people engaged and involved. One of the things that I really harp on young people about, and I hit 2 of our students up this morning when they got sucker punched and had to come to a ceremony we did. I said, look, it was actually a scholarship donation. So I went over to them and I said, hey, look, I appreciate you 2 being here. I'd like to go ahead and get my calendar out here and set a date. And they said, a date for what? And I said, well, the date for when you come to this and you're on the other side of that table, right? When you're endowing a scholarship. I'll be out in the future. I go, let's just plan for it, right? And then I told them this. I said, well, look, here's what I'd ask you to do. Go home this evening and make a list. And on that list, write down the name of every single person who's played some role in you being the success story that you are today. Bring me your list back tomorrow. Bring me your list back tomorrow. I'm going to tell you 2 things about that list. Number 1, you didn't get every name that needed to be on that list. Because somewhere, somebody, somehow put in a positive word for you that you didn't even know about. Oh, okay. What's the second one? I said, well, the second one is this. At the end of the day, it really doesn't matter whose name you put on your list. What matters is whose list did you get your name on, right? When you wrote your list, did you write his name? You had a chance to have a positive effect on him. Did you do it, right? And I think that that's what young people need to recognize. You know, when you talk about great communities, it's because of the service kinds of things you folks do, and you get your names on other people's lists. And I need a generation of young people that recognize how important that is. Yes, sir.
How far along has UAH come in its efforts to provide housing for the majority of the students that attend the school?
Housing is a challenge for us. That's a place to where we know we have some work to do. Being able to come across Sparkman Drive and expand the number of housing offerings we have is important. You know, one of the things that's a little foreign up here that I'm not used to is in my former institution, young people who lived in residence halls and then moved out and got an apartment, their cost went down. That's not exactly the issue here because the housing market up here for apartments and the like, it goes up. So housing is an area that we have to expand the number of beds we have. And again, that's part of that long-range plan of trying to maybe move across Sparkman, add some residence halls. We've got some renovations we need to do in the current ones we have. But for us to become the kind of university that I believe we should be, we've got to have those kinds of opportunities for young people to be there on campus. Yes, ma'am. I'm really not going to go look for that tape.
As far as being a part of a university trifecta of UAD and UA and UAH, years ago, because we were the commuter school, and you know they made great strides, and we are as well trying to change that image and make it more of a destination location. But how much support? It used to be the perception that the satellite schools didn't have the kind of support from the foundation. How are you seeing the support for growth and leadership and from the foundation?
So that was a commitment.
Trustees.
That was one of the commitments that I got from the Chancellor St. John and members of the Board of Trustees was that UAH was going to be a priority and they did want to make investments up here. Which I knew enough to ask that. So I think there's a lot of value in UAH being part of the university system. It allows for us to roll with the punches sometimes. I think that we are going to get support from the Board of Trustees. But I'll also tell you this, at the end of the day, we just need to go get what we want, right? We'd be a great university by improving some of the things that are within our control.
That's good that they always get it in advance before deciding that they are seeing the gems that we thought we had here.
Yeah, and I think it's perfectly fine for us to have concerns over how we're treated. I don't think we can allow for that to be the overriding reason for us to not go out and do things. Right? If you're not careful, we tend to just dwell on, focus on, and obsess over those things you perceive as negatives or injustices that have been done to you. Or you can get up and go do the things that we really need to be doing. The best story I can tell you is about a faculty member that I hired. He told me that he was working at another university. He got to feeling underappreciated. And he said, so I'm just going to go get me another job. So he said, I pulled out my resume and I started looking at it. And I was like, if I'm going to get another job, I better start improving this a little bit, right? So he got to really improve his thing. He said, oh, lo and behold, all of a sudden he was much more appreciated in his current university. So again, I think the Board of Trustees and the Chancellor support what we do here at UAH. But I also think there's so many things. Well, listen, I really appreciate the opportunity to come visit with you folks. Again, my wife and I are just really thrilled to be part of this great community that you built. Y'all please come visit us. We'd love to have you on campus anytime. Go Chargers.
Thank you very much, Dr. Carr. That was awesome. Thanks for being here today. And hopefully after 18 months, your vacation home will be here, even though you're at the beach, but you'll be part of our community still. We would love to have you.
My wife would, you know, if you hit her on the right day with the right number, buddy, you can have it.
All right, any other announcements that I missed for today? All right, with that, let's go ahead and close with the four-way test. Things that we think, say, or do. First.
Is true.
Second.
Is fair to all concerned.
Third.
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
And fourth.
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you for being here, and thanks for being Rotarians. Have a great day.
Thank you, appreciate it. All right. You'll see you on the 29th.